Hello, everybody. This is Catholic Diet, episode number 458. Are you a Nazi? Or are you a nice guy? Another way of saying the exact same thing. And I'm going to explain that to you. So I want to go back to the book Police Battalion 101, Ordinary Men. Sorry, the book's Ordinary Men. And also the book, The Psychology of Totalitarianism. One's by Christopher Browning, the other's by Desmet. And I've been doing a little bit of thinking about it on people who are super nice people and very compliant with systems, okay? And so in Ordinary Men, okay, you had 500 German police officers that were sent in by Germany to help with the Polish occupation. And they were normal police officers. They were ordinary men. That's the book, Ordinary Men. And they were there to just normal police work, traffic control and helping out with fights or thievery and stuff like that. And one morning, the colonel pulls him out of the 500 people, and he says, okay, we have our orders on high. You see that Jewish ghetto over there, Joseph O? We have our orders on high. We're going to go and we're going to march and we're going to kill everybody, okay? And it needs to be done. And they gave exquisitely detailed orders how they're going to do it. A lot of the guys started throwing up just listening what they're in for. And then he says at the end of it, and we know you're not normal. You're not military, you're just normal, ordinary people, so you're free to leave. If you have a problem with this, you don't have to do it. You're not military. And out of the 500 police officers that were courageous, bold men, only 12 walked away, and 488 partook in the Joseph O massacre. Well, anyway, so the book of The Psychology of Totalitarianism, Desmet, this is a completely different thought now, let's shift. He talks about the breakdown, three populations that exist whenever totalitarianism is rising. Number one is those who are truly hypnotized by totalitarianism. I call these the COVID maniacs, essentially, the hysterical people, Trump derangement syndrome, whatever it is. 30% of the population will never believe the opposite side because they're completely hypnotized, and they will fight to the death to get their position. There's a large bulk of people in the center of the population, a little bit more than 65% of the population, that they kind of know what's right, okay? These are the people right in the middle, right? They know what's right, but they're going to follow the masses because they're afraid to step outside of the crowd. And then there's a small percentage, less than 5% of the people, that are not willing to comply, will speak out and stand for moral truth. And that's in that book, Ordinary Men, only 12 guys walked away. That's 2.4% of 500 people walked away. So therefore, Desmet's probably correct based upon this Police Battalion 101. And so, are you a Nazi or are you a nice guy? So let's concentrate on the people in the middle, the 65% of the people in the middle, or a little bit more, right? These people will go in either direction. Either if the hysterical people gain power and influence and they scream and yell loud enough, the 65% will quietly go along with them, even if they disagree with them. The 5%, it's their job, or the smaller 5%, to convince the 65% that they're in the majority and they can walk this way towards freedom and liberty. So the people in the middle, the 65%, are actually the nice people in ordered society, structured society. They're not going to say anything against other people. They're always going to be polite. They're always going to pay their taxes. They're always going to go to the job. They're not going to steal. They're not going to thieve. And they're going to be polite and nice and kind to a lot of people. But the fact of the matter is, when you ask them to stand up for something, they're not really willing to stand up for something, right? They're always polite and kind and gentle. They're good to have at Thanksgiving, but they're certainly not good to take into war, right? Because it's easy to be polite when society is structured, right? But the very same people, when intrinsic evil is like pointed towards them, and they actually they have a choice: either they're going to quietly comply with it and be a nice guy, right? Or they're going to stand up and say no and be a not nice guy. And I guess what I'm trying to say is there's not much of a difference between a nice guy, those who comply, those who won't say boo to anybody, those who won't stand up for what's right, and a Nazi. It's almost the exact same thing, because eventually one day you'll be put in a situation, if you don't like stirring a pot, or if you're not willing to take a moral stance on anything, you're going to be the one with the gun to the back of your fellow countryman and shooting him dead and going, well, I didn't really want to upset the nest because I'm a nice guy. And I guess what I'm saying is there's really not much of a difference between being a nice guy and a coward, right? And a weakling. And it's hard. It's hard to stand against the crowd. It's hard to stand up for moral right against a big group of people. I mean, Christ did it, when they're about to stone the woman. He said, well, he, is free of sin, cast first stone. he stood against the mob, right? And that's the less than 5%. That's the job of the 5%. And so you have to decide in your life, by the way, are you a nice guy, or are you going to be a right guy? Are you going to be the one who stands up for principle, takes a principled stance? And I just had somebody who asked me a question, and I consider him a holy man. It's not like just a guy off the street. He says to me, he said, "What makes a good leader?" And I had to think about it a little bit, but I said, a good leader is somebody who stands up for what's right and sticks to it, period, right? Sometimes standing up for what's right makes you a not nice guy, right? And in fact, that's actually more common than not. The correct way is usually the hard way. The correct way is usually the one that offends the most people, because we're living in exile here, people. People are living in all sorts of crazy lives. There's people out there sodomizing, divorcing, contracepting, like all these intrinsic evils. And for somebody to stand up and say, hey, guess what? Your lifestyle's wrong, right? You're doing it wrong. It's intrinsically evil, and you could be condemned to hell. Well, that's not a nice thing to say, but it certainly is a necessary thing to say. And so just think about this, people. If you're compliant and polite all the time, you're probably the one who will line up and be a Nazi. And I know that's a hard pill to swallow, because if you ask a group of 100 people in America, say, hey, who of you would have been a Nazi in the time of Hitler? Like probably everyone would say not me, right? Like maybe 99% would say, or 93%, or whatever it is. But the fact of the matter is the bulk of the people would have been compliant Nazis, because the bulk of people are nice and compliant. And so the key is to teach yourself to be hard. Teach yourself to be fortified against the world. Teach yourself to not give a crap what anybody thinks about you, except for the Lord, right? So you can't serve two masters. You can't serve your neighbor and everybody's personal opinions. You can't and serve the Lord at the same time, because doing what's right is hard, it's difficult, and you actually have to do it. So I was talking to somebody out there whose daughter went bananas on social media or something, like really mad, because she's woke, right? She's upset about the world. She thinks women are the most oppressed things on planet Earth. Everybody should be able to get abortions, and men can be pregnant, crap like that, right? And so, so a family friend posts something about being pro-life, and it wasn't offensive at all to anybody with a brain, right? But she took crazy offense at it and started attacking this person. Well, I went to that girl's mom and said, you don't do that to friends and family. You just don't attack friends and family. She could have ignored it and walked away. And she said to me, what if she found it offensive? And I said, well, she's woke, so by definition, everything's offensive to her. So no, that's not the excuse. So the bottom line is, there's people out there, this is the 30%, people out there that will freaking attack you for saying your genuine belief. And so you have to be unnice if you want to do what's right. If you want to be a leader, do what's right and stick to it. You will inspire people, you will encourage people, and you'll be the inspiration of the 65% that will be a Nazi, and then they can walk into your camp and maybe follow the Lord. Well, anyway, this is Catholic Dad making you think about it. Please like or subscribe, get the Mass, and pray the Daily Rosary. God bless you, and have a nice weekend.